This right here is every single position more or less in my long-term dividend growth portfolio, which as of right now, filming this video, earns me on average around $205, $206 on a daily basis. Now that's around $205 every single day of every single week of every single month. And what's crazy about this is that I earn money consistently every single day just by owning shares of these different stocks and ETFs. Now in this video, I'm going to break down exactly how I've built this portfolio to this size over the past 7 or so years, and I'm going to share some of the most important takeaways I've learned on my investing journey as of this far to hopefully help some of you, especially if you're just getting started. Now, if this happens to interest you at all, make sure to please stick around, drop a like down below, and let's get right into it. I just finished my brand new dividend investing ebook where I share exactly how I went from zero to now over 7 figures invested, and also on how I earned more than $6,000 per month in dividends. I also finished my custom dividend tracker that you can use to track your dividend income progress on an ongoing basis. So make sure to grab yourself a copy of my dividend investing ebook and the new dividend tracker today. It's the first link in my description. So like I said a second ago, this is every single position of every single stock and ETF that I've been basically collecting now for around 7 or so years. Now, I started my dividend growth investing journey years ago when I signed up for the Robinhood app brokerage and bought a few shares of Capital One, followed by a few shares of Realty Income shortly after. And for several years now, I've been basically taking every single dollar that I've been earning throughout my businesses and through my jobs and been investing it right into the stock market, buying different dividend paying stocks and ETFs that all pay dividends and have the potential to pay more and more in dividends over time. Which brings me into my number one takeaway that I would share with any brand new investor that's just getting started, and even if you are already invested in the market, listen closely. One of my biggest pieces of advice for a dividend growth investor is to invest into, or at least try your best, to find different stocks or ETFs that offer a nice, steady dividend growth rate. Now, dividend growth is basically how much in dividends a stock or ETF pays year over year. Like this right here, for example, is the Schwab US Dividend Equity ETF, SCHD, which over time at least has paid more and more in dividends year over year, which has allowed investors like myself to get paid basically more and more over time by doing absolutely nothing. Now, for example, last year, SCHD paid around $2.66 per share. So every single share of SCHD that an investor owned last year, they got paid around $2.66 in dividends for every single share. Now, just for some perspective, around 10 years ago, SCHD was paying $1.05 per share. So over the last, say, 10 or so years, SCHD shareholders are almost getting paid 3 times as much in dividend income as they were getting paid around 10 years prior. Now, because a lot of humans and even investors have a hard time looking at things on a long time frame. And I get that, I struggle with that myself. But as investors, we have to zoom out and look at the long term and try to find different opportunities that are not only going to help us today, but hopefully help us long term into the future. Now, that also means to not only invest into different stocks or ETFs just because they're offering, say, a massive high starting dividend yield. In my long-term portfolio, I have a little bit of everything, which also goes into my next big piece of advice for all investors out there, to diversify their portfolio. And although even though my long-term portfolio might be what some investors would consider to be a little bit over-diversified, I think that having all your eggs in one basket can be extremely risky, which is also why, over time at least, I've been really focusing on buying into high-quality ETFs that own a basket of different stocks, because as time goes on, I'm really finding that diversification is truly king. But to look a little bit deeper into the actual diversification in my portfolio, for example, you see right here, I own 1,000 shares of Apple stock that I bought years ago at $118 per share. I also own over 2,700 shares of QYLD, the Global X NASDAQ 100 covered call ETF. Now, even though Apple and QYLD are 2 very different types of assets, I like owning both of them for different reasons. Like, for example, I bought into shares of Apple to hopefully see the actual share price of Apple really grow over time, which is exactly what it's been able to do so. I never once bought shares of Apple in order to earn a lot of cash flow on a quarterly basis from the dividend, of course. And as you can see right here, if we were to estimate how much Apple, for example, even pays me per year and per month, Apple's dividends pay me just over $1,000 per year, or around $85 a month in income. Now, in comparison, my 2,700 shares of QYLD pay me around $5,700 per year and almost $500 every single month. So by owning different types of stocks and ETFs in the portfolio, you can sort of over time build out a long-term portfolio that suits your needs and try to cross off pretty much everything that you're looking to do within your strategy. Now next, because a lot of investors that might be watching this video might just be getting started in the stock market and just getting started with your own dividend growth journey, I want to head over to the Dividend Calculator and show you how a relatively small amount of money invested into high quality different stocks and ETFs that offer a decent starting dividend yield and decent dividend growth can turn a relatively small amount of money into a fortune down the line. So if we were to start with, say, just $10,000 invested, and add $12,000 per year, so around $1,000 per month added into the stock market over time. And again, some investors might be able to add more or less. This is just going off of one example. And if we were to invest on average into stocks and ETFs that offer a 5% annual dividend yield starting, a 5% annual dividend amount increase, and a 3% annual share price increase, 30 years invested with drip turned on. So in this case, we're going to be given an example with all the dividends being reinvested into more stocks and ETFs along the way, which is what I've been doing since I started and what I plan on doing for some time now. Now the numbers are in, and check this out, guys. A $10,000 investment initially earns around $500 per year in dividends. Nothing all that crazy as of yet, but I promise if an investor just stays with it and just hangs on as long as they can, the numbers will get massive, and just you wait and see. By year number 2, $22,000 and almost $1,200 per year in dividends. By year number 5, this investor's already up to $67,000 of principal and $3,700 per year in dividends. It takes around 10 years for this investor to reach around $10,000 per year in dividends and $168,000 in principal. So from year number 1, $10,000 to $170,000. It took 10 years with just an initial $10,000 invested and around $12,000 per year. Now listen closely. If you are watching this and you are younger, you have a massive, massive advantage because the power of compounding loves time. Over time, as long as you invest consistently and reinvest your dividends, you have a massive chance to make a fortune. By 15 years in, $322,000 and $21,000 per year in dividends. And again, just a reminder, if you were to add more to the portfolio ongoingly, the power of compounding is going to reward you just as much. Of 20 years in, we're at $566,000 and $42,000 per year in dividends. 25 years in, almost $1 million and $79,000 per year in dividends. Now, for any investor that's pretty much been steadily invested for 20 plus years, you are going to see some massive, massive moves take place. Because at this point, your yield on cost is so high, and with dividend increases and with just the mere size of your portfolio, you're seeing things really move to the point to where, at this example at least, 27 years in, and this portfolio is at $1.2 million and over $100,000 per year in dividends. Now, by 30 years in, this portfolio is at $1.647 million and $148,000 per year in dividends. Once again, all off of a $10,000 investment, which is on average $12,000 per year. Now, just a side note, you guys can grab this exact same dividend tracker and use it for your own journey. It's the first link down below in my description. But this portfolio around, keep in mind, is all going to be estimated. These numbers are always going to change ongoingly because of dividend raises, dividend cuts, and of course, just everyday accounting errors. But as this portfolio sits, I'm currently at around $75,000 per year in dividends with around $6,200 a month. Now, keep in mind, I opened up my first dividend portfolio back on the Robinhood brokerage years and years and years ago. And because of a business liquidity event pretty early along in my investing journey, I was lucky enough to have a decent amount of money to invest into dividend paying stocks and ETFs from day one, and that's exactly what I did so. So now that you guys saw my exact portfolio and some of the biggest takeaways that I've learned since I started my investing journey up until this point over the last 7 or so years, now I want to hear from you guys down below. What is your current annual dividend income goal that you're currently working really hard to hit? Drop it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to please drop a like on it and subscribe for more future content like this. Thanks as always for stopping by, and if you are interested in investing, make sure to check out these recent videos I posted right here.